Hey out there Bulbapedia fans, Professor Bulba here, ready to walk you through 50 plus facts from Generation 2. Generation 2 brought forward 100 new Pokemon, so here's a fact or two about each and every single Pokemon from Generation 2. Chikorita has red eyes just like another awesome grass starter Pokemon, Bulbasaur. Also, its name is inspired from the name of the chicory plant. Bayleaf is spelled Bayleaf when romanized in its Japanese name. This, of course, is in reference to the bitter spice that is a bay leaf. Meganium is a combination of the words mega and geranium, which is a type of flower. I love me some flower dinosaurs. Cyndaquil's Japanese name is Hino Arashi. Hino Arashi is a combination of Hi, meaning fire, and Yama Arashi, which means porcupine. This can be interpreted as porcupine of fire. Know who else has the name Hino and likes fire? Sailor Mars. Her last name is Hino, and therefore she is Ray of Fire. Quilava's species is the lava Pokemon.
But Professor Bulba, not called species anymore. It's called a category.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm always gonna call it a species because Pokemon was pretty cool when they had species of Pokemon that you discovered.
And now back to your regular scheduled video.
Its Japanese name is Magmarashi, which is a combination of magma and, again, porcupine. It's a magma porcupine. So far, Typhlosion is the only third stage fire starter without a secondary type. Here's hoping its mega evolution does not become firefighting. Totodile's name is a combination of tot, meaning small, and crocodile, meaning I'ma eat you, or it's just the name of the animal is based off of. Take your pick. According to its gold Pokedex entry, Croconaw has 48 fangs in its mouth. Ouch. For Alligator, its Generation 3 sprite has raised quite a bit of hype in the Pokemon community. Based on how its spiny thoracic spine appears in the sprite picture, it makes it look like its buttocks rather than its spine.
Oh crap! That Pokemon is a grass type and totally has the advantage over us. What should I do? Think. What did Professor Bulba say to do?
If you ever get into trouble, all you need to do is...
Feels like I'm wearing nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Stupid sexy Fralligator.
Sentret's Japanese name is Otachi, which is a mix of tail, stand, and weasel. Which kind of makes sense when you think of Naruto because Otachi kind of was a sneaky little weasel. Furret are carnivorous, or at least omnivores. As their Silver Pokedex entry states,
despite its short legs, it is quick at hunting Rattata.
Highly suggesting that it's a Pokemon Eat Pokemon world out there. Hoot Hoot's Japanese name is Ho-Ho, which is an onomatopoeia for an owl's hoot, just like its English equivalent. Because apparently in Japan, owls go hoo hoo, rather than hoot hoot. Now that I think about it, owls definitely do not hoot, they hoo. Hey, if you went to Japan and you went to Hooters, would it be called hoers?
Unfortunately not.
Noctowl. As it was never officially revealed that Jigglypuff was shiny, despite some similarities, Noctowl was the very first officially recognized shiny Pokemon in the anime. Ladybug has the species of the 5-star Pokemon. This is in reference to the 5 dots on its back, despite being hard to see all at once. Lady Ann's 5 spots, which have changed location since evolution, are said to grow or shrink depending on the number of stars in the night sky. Makes you wonder what it would do during a meteor shower. Spinarak is based off the Hawaiian happy face spider. Yep, that is a real thing that only makes it even more terrifying. Although thought to be a spider, it technically is not an arachnid as it only has 6 legs rather than 8. Either way, I wouldn't want to get caught in its web. Crobat. According to his Gen 3 Pokedex entry, Crobat flies with only one set of wings at a time, alternating when it's tired. Perhaps that is where it gets its high speed stat from, using both at once.
Well, no, Sherlock.
Although depicted in the anime as being able to walk on land, it does not have a footprint according to the Pokedex. Not sure what these are then. Lantern. There is a Pokemon trainer in Pokemon Emerald that has a lantern that knows Earthquake. Knowing that it cannot legitimately be learned in any generation by Lantern, all that's left to do is call hacks. Pichu. Fans have speculated that the reason Pichu was left out of Super Smash Bros. After Melee is because the Pikachu in Brawl evolved from it. Evidence used to support this is the wall jump ability that Pikachu could not use but Pichu could use is now usable in Brawl. Also, the blue goggles that Pichu wore in Melee can be used for Pikachu in Brawl, which could not before, and the fact that Volt Tackle can only be learned through the Pichu stage. Cleffa.
It's about damn time.
So far, all but one of Cleffa's trading cards in the trading card game had the attack Eek, all having various effects. By the way, 20 friendship points if you know which video Cleffa first starred in my videos. Igglybuff had a color change over the generations with different shades of pink. Most noticeable is how its shiny form was once green in Generation 2. Shiny Pokemon in Generation 2 were based on IV stats alone. That was later changed in Generation 3 with a whole different set of variables. And since we're talking about shiny Pokemon, in Gen 2, the odds of encountering a shiny Pokemon on random encounter is 1 in 8,192. Thank goodness for soft resets. Togepi. Although its Pokedex reads numerous entries about happiness, compassion, and positive emotions, in the Pokemon Adventure manga, or however people want me to say it, because anytime I say it anyway, it's always wrong!
In the Pokemon Adventure comic,
Togepi was more so displayed as a try-hard, thick-skulled underdog, which is quite a cool contrast. Togetic. Not many people remember, but Togetic in Gen 2 was a yolky egg color. So glad they changed that. The name Natu is short for the word nature, according to Jeff Kalis, who helped name some of the Pokemon in Generation 2. Xatu. Xatu's design comes from indigenous heritage. A Xat is a sacred totem pole that connects this world to the next. Also, ever notice the markings on Xatu's chest looks just like the cat from Azumanga.
Where can I go to find a real cat?
A real cat? Are you saying then that I am a fake cat?
Please forgive me.
But do you mean to say that there are cats that are real and ones that are not?
Mareep. It is believed that its name is a mix between Mary, from Mary Had a Little Lamb, and sheep. There is also the possibility of its name being an anagram for
Ampere,
which is a unit of electricity. Flaffy. Two different variations of the same Pokemon card can be found for Flaffy, drawn by the same artist. Which one do you like better? Ampharos. According to multiple Pokedex entries, its tail, when lit up, can be seen from outer space. Accuracy reducing indeed. Blossom. Surprisingly, the only way to get Blossom in Pokemon Sun and Moon is to transfer it from another game. Yeah, you'd think the fact it resembles a hula dancer would make them, I don't know, maybe feature this Pokemon, but nope. Meryl. Meryl was often referred to as Peekaboo before its official release because of its resemblance to Pikachu, although its early concept artwork was pink. Believe it or not, Meryl debuted in a different Pokemon game before Pokemon Gold and Silver to players outside of Japan. It was first usable and seen in Pokemon Puzzle League, which was released just about a month before Pokemon Gold and Silver. Azumarill had sprite changes from Gen 2 onward. In Gen 2, its bottom quarter was white, with froth-like bubbles going upwards. And then Gen 3 onwards, the frost settled into a distinguished pattern with the polka dot-like bubbles being separate. Sudowoodo. Pokemon Moon's entry states, the larger the green part of the Pokemon, the more collectors value it. This is in reference to the bonsai, which is increased with value the grander it grows. And to piece it all together, Sudowoodo's pre-evolution is based on the bonsai tree. Politoed. According to the Emerald Pokédex, it gains its status from the length and the amount of curl from the strand of hair protruding from its head. Let this be living proof that size does matter.
That's a big Pokemon.
So size does matter.
Hoppip. Ever wonder why Hoppip learns Splash? This is because the attack Splash is actually called Hop in Japanese. This also answers why Pokemon can use the move Splash with no water around. Skiploom. Upon evolution, its weight doubles from 1.1 pounds to 2.2.
And then triples to 6.6 pounds.
Jumpluff. Together, its evolutionary line is a play on the phrase, it's just a hop, skip, and jump away. Apom. According to the Pokedex, Apom uses its tail more than its hands. Which makes sense since its hands are just stubs. Purple, hairy stubs. Sunkern shares its species name with Bulbasaur. They are known as the sea Pokemon. Sunflora. In Japanese, its name is Kimawari, which is a mix of yellow and sunflower. Yanma. The word Yanma in Japanese can be taken to literally mean large dragonfly. Whooper. Female Whoopers have one less pair of branching gills than male Whoopers. Quagsire. Quagsire and Whooper are the only non-electric type Pokemon who can use the move Eerie Impulse. Aside from Smeargle. Damn you, Smeargle. Espeon.
Its name has meaning. It's
From a combination of the ending suffix eon and ESP, which stands for extrasensory perception. Umbreon's name comes from umbra, which is Latin for shadow. This is also the name used to describe the silhouette the moon casts during a solar eclipse. Murkrow. According to its Crystal Pokedex entry, both Meowth and Murkrow steal from each other's stash of shiny objects. Fun fact, Murkrow is probably like my second or third favorite Pokemon ever. Its design is just so damn cute. Slowking. According to its Crystal Dex entry,
Every time it yawns, Shelter injects more poison into it. The poison makes it more intelligent.
Huh. Another fun fact, its Mandarin name is however you pronounce that, which literally translates to Hippopotamus King. Mischievous. According to its Ruby Dex entry, this Pokemon uses the red spheres around its neck to absorb the fearful feelings of its foe and turns it into nutrients. Yep, its survival depends on the fear of others. Unknown. In Japanese, its name is Unknown. In the movie Spell of the Unknown Entei, aka Pokemon the Movie 3, there are several other symbol shapes of Unknown depicted. These actually look pretty sweet. Wobbuffet. Wobbuffet does not have the ability to cause damage to another Pokemon independently other than through the move Struggle. In Generation 3, if two Wobbuffets were duking it out and both were holding leftovers, the battle would become endless. This is because neither could switch out due to Shadow Tag, and both Pokemon would heal more through their leftovers than the damage caused by Struggle. This was thankfully changed in Generation 4. Shadow Tag is now nullified for the user if both opposing Pokemon have it. And since we're talking about Wobbuffet, can we take a second and appreciate the silliness of its female counterpart having what looks like it's wearing lipstick? Yep, cause that's what distinguishes a male and a female. Girafarig. I'm quite fond of this Pokemon. Its design is just so unique. Most people know that its name is a palindrome, which means that it is said both the same forwards and backwards. Just like Eevee, or race car, or kayak. Its name being the same both backwards and forwards is likely due to a well-known alpha sketch. Although it is called the long-necked Pokemon, it only stands at 4'11", which is exactly the same height as Dunsparce. Fun fact, Girafarig shares its in-game cry with Porygon 2. Pineco. Pineco is clearly based off a pinecone, and one can truly visualize this with its shiny variation. Its species type is the bagworm Pokemon, where it is thought part of its inspiration is drawn from. As you can see, its rugged ridges give off the same sort of texture as a pinecone. What color would you say this Pokemon is? If you said silver or white, you are wrong. If you said red, you're also wrong. According to the Pokedex, the color of this Pokemon is purple. To be fair, in Pokemon Crystal and Gen 3, this Pokemon sprite was purple. Its Pokedex entry hints at the idea that this Pokemon is not well known for the fact that it always flees when seen, and for the fact that it has nests deep underground. Who knows? Maybe next generation we will unearth a new evolution for this cute little fella.
7 hours later.
Gligar is pretty neat in its evolution in that its hidden ability Immunity, which prevents it from being poisoned, evolves into Poison Heal, which heals it each turn rather than damages it. Evolution indeed. Steelix has multiple Pokedex entries stating that if an Onix lives under the ground for more than 100 years, its composition becomes diamond-like / harder than diamond. That may explain the Crystal Onix in the anime and also explains the diamond-like composites on Mega Steelix.
Hey, listen!
Snubbull. In Japanese, its name is romanized to Bull, most likely short for Bulldog. Both Snubbull's and Clefairy's evolutionary lines are known as the Fairy Pokemon, so technically Fairy Pokemon existed before fully established in an alternate universe. Granbull. Its Crystal Dex entry states,
It can make most any Pokemon run away simply by opening its mouth wide to reveal its big fangs.
Big fangs? You mean these little things right here? It's the only thing that's inside of its mouth. Too spooky for me. Quillfish. Look how cute and innocent pre-beta Quillfish looked. Aww. Quillfish shares the same species as Jigglypuff and Drifloon. They are the balloon Pokemon. In Generation 2, Scizor's species was known as the Scissors Pokemon and was later changed to Pincer Pokemon. I'm sure there's a lesbian joke in there somewhere, but I'm not going to go there. Shuckle. In Generation 2, after holding a berry for long enough, a Shuckle can turn it into berry juice. This makes sense when you look at its species name of mold Pokemon, which in Japanese is the fermentation Pokemon. According to its Crystal Pokedex, it mixes berries with fluids from its, get this, toes to make juice. Toe juice. Heracross. Heracross is based on a Japanese rhinoceros beetle. In fact, Pokemon's concept of collecting and battling comes from the creator Satoshi Tajiri's fascination with collecting bugs as a child. Sneasel. Sneasel's name is a combination of sneak and weasel. Weasels are well known for eating bird eggs, and to no surprise, according to its Silver Pokedex entry,
Sneasel. Vicious in nature, it drives Pidgeys from their nest and feasts on their eggs that are left behind.
Oh, but wait. Let's get a bit more graphic. Sneasel's moon entry states,
It uses its claws to poke holes in eggs so it can slurp out the insides.
Slurps. Sucks out. Slams it back like a shot of...
No, it does the body good.
Pass it on!
Milk it does, yeah. Milk it does the body good.
Teddiursa. Teddiursa is the little bear Pokemon. No, not that little bear. Teddiursa is a mix of Teddy, from teddy bear, and Ursa, which is Latin for bear. Ursaring. Ursaring's number of claws has changed over time and between canons. In its original artwork, Ursaring has 4 visible claws, however in Heart Gold and Soul Silver's artwork, it has 5. In the Generation 2 games, it has 3 claws. From Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire up to and including Pokemon Platinum, it has 4. All of these changes make me want to claw my own eyes out. Slugma. According to its Pokedex entry,
It never sleeps. It has to keep moving because if it stops, its magma body would cool and harden.
does that mean that sleep powder could kill it? Macargo. If the Pokedex is right and Macargo's body temperature is truly 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit, then it would be hotter than the surface of the sun at around 9,940 degrees Fahrenheit. But more importantly, if this is true, I'm taking mine for a massage. Swinub. Swinub has some big color changes over the generations. Its once blue shiny sprite from Gen 2 gets changed to a silver/black color in Gen 3, and then from Gen 4 onward, it's more of a gray type shiny. Piloswine. So far, Piloswine and its evolutionary line are the only Pokemon to have this typing of ice/ground. Fun fact, it's weak to fire, water, and grass, making it an optimal Pokemon for any starter to battle. It is worth mentioning that this unique typing does have immunity to all and any weather effect type damage thus far. Corsola. Corsola's name is actually based off of Ursula from The Little Mermaid because it is so damn ugly. But seriously, here is a super fact that I bet you didn't know. Its Japanese name, when romanized, is Sanigo, meaning Sunnygo. Its English name reflects this too. Its name is a mix of sun, soul, and coral. Corsola. Of Corsola. Why didn't I see this before? Remoraid. Check out its shiny Gen 2 sprite. It was once a black/dark gray color, which was later replaced with a light purple color. The signature move of Octillery is Octazooka. Horsey's evolutionary line can learn it too, and based on their design, I can perfectly imagine how this would work. What has me completely baffled is another Pokemon who can learn it. Sableye. Delibird. Delibird's name comes from the word deliver and bird.
Then it should be Delibird, not deli. It's not a type of lunch meat, you idiot.
Also, fun fact, if you look at the anatomy of
Delibird,
you will see that it literally pulls presents out of its ass. I can see how that can be damaging, but how come sometimes it heals? Mantine. Its official artwork is seen with Remoraid underneath his wing-like fin. Back in Gen 2 and 3, all sprites in battle were depicted with them together. So does that mean in that timeline 2 Pokemon could fit into 1 Pokeball? Okay, so there are other examples, but still weird. Gen 4 onward, the sprites were changed so that Mantine was on its own. Skarmory. Fun fact, in the Pokemon trading card game, it has its own little special trio picture along with Lugia and Ho-Oh. Does that mean that Skarmory is legendary? No, it doesn't. Houndour. Despite being a Gen 2 Pokemon, it was actually native to Kanto in Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. This Pokemon can only be caught at night. Makes me think that maybe it was obtainable in Generation 1, but we just weren't allowed out at night. Yes, bringing down a criminal organization is one thing, but by golly, you better be inside by curfew. Houndoom. There are not enough burn heals in the entire world to make me want to fight one of these. According to its Gold Pokedex entry,
if you are burned by the flames it shoots from its mouth, the pain will never go away.
Another fun fact about Houndoom is that in Gen 2, it has 3 distinctly different sprites. Which one do you like best? Kingdra. Its Gen 2 Pokedex entry states,
it can create whirlpools by yawning.
Looking at its moveset, it can indeed learn Yawn through leveling up. However, surprisingly does not learn Whirlpool. But it can still learn it through HM06. Oh, and by the way, this is the official artwork for an HM. This is the hidden machine that teaches your Pokemon to be a slave. Hashtag HM slaves. Fanfy. Fanfy species is the long-nosed Pokemon, yet I'd argue that its nose really isn't that long at all. When it evolves and actually does have a nose worth mentioning, its snout is ignored and instead is known as the armor Pokemon. You know, I like the idea of covering one's length. Hashtag don't catch them all. Donphan. In Generation 2, if you sent out Donphan to fight, its sprite was just its snout. This was later changed in Generation 3 onward to be a bit more inclusive of the rest of the Pokemon. Porygon 2. What color would you say Porygon is? Blue? Pink? Well, according to the Pokedex, it's neither. It is classified as red. Stantler's Japanese name is Odoshishi, which most likely comes from Shishi Odoshi. Shishi Odoshi is a type of device used to frighten deer and birds away from the garden. Schmeargle. With its ability Sketch, Schmeargle can learn any move in the Pokemon game aside from the shadow moves Struggle and Chatter. Technically, Smeargle is able to sketch Hyperspace Fury, but the move will always fail. Oh, and yes, Smeargle can pass judgment upon you. I love saying it as Schmeargle rather than Smeargle. I just imagine it smearing stuff everywhere. It's schmear shit. Tyrogue. Tyrogue is a little monster that represents the young collegiate wrestler. His stance is representative of a wrestling stance where you keep low, arms out in front of you, and your legs protected from being grabbed. Looking closer at its design, you can see how its ears represent traditional wrestling headgear. This is to prevent something called cauliflower ear. A nice, healthy choice for young vegan cannibals. Hitmontop. Remember that time Clefairy and Hitmonlee had a baby?
What are you trying to say about my ancestors?
I'm glad you turned out the way you did instead of being a Beyblade.
Beyblade, Beyblade, let it rip!
Hitmontop's Japanese name when romanized is Capoeira, which is reference to capoeira, the martial arts style its fighting style is based off of. This martial art is also a style of dance.
It's not unusual to be loved by anyone.
Smoochum was based on Ganguro, blonde-haired, tan Japanese girls, but is meant to resemble an otherwise normal human child. Ganguro is characterized by a dark tan versus colorful outerwear or hair for contrast. And Jesus, look at those nails on her! Elekid. Elekid can plug directly into the back of its final evolution, because reasons.
Game Freak, you must be freaks. Why does my child belong inside of me like this?
Magby. In Generation 2, all Pokemon hatched from eggs were born at level 5. This later changed in Gen 4 and onward. Before Gen 4, there was a Pokemon card of an underaged Magby.
What's your point?
Magby, it hatched early from its egg. Jokes are so funny.
I hope you choke on an egg.
Miltank, according to its Ruby Pokedex entry,
Miltank gives over 5 gallons of milk on a daily basis. Its sweet milk is enjoyed by children and grown-ups alike. People who can't drink milk turn it into yogurt and eat it instead.
5 gallons is a lot of milk for one day. I guess that's why it's called Miltank. Milk plus tank. Tank being an object for storing. Personally, I always thought of Miltank to be milk plus tank, as in it can take a lot of damage and just tank. But, to each their own. Blissey, the happiness Pokemon, or when romanized from Japanese, it is the happiness Pokemon. Happiness may be a corruption of happiness or a combination of happiness and nurse. It may also involve Nasu, meaning eggplant, referring to the egg theme of its evolutionary line. Blissey has multiple Pokedex entries stating that if someone has some of its egg, that they experience happiness. Except vegans. Ha! Get it? Except? Okay, no more yokes. Super fact time about Generation 2 Legendary Trios. The origin story for the 3 legendary beasts goes as follows. 3 creatures were in the Brass Tower when it was struck by lightning. Sadly, they could not escape as it burned to the ground with them in it. The legend is told that Ho-Oh resurrected these creatures into a new life. What we don't know is what 3 Pokemon lost their lives in this tower. Fans speculate that Flareon, Jolteon, Vaporeon were transformed into the legendary beast, but so far the game has not offered a direct answer. It is thought that Raikou represents the lightning that struck the Brass Tower, Entei represents the fire that engulfed the building, and Suicune, the rain that put out fire to rest. The legendary beasts are also known as the legendary dogs, but this is just a fan-based term. They can also be called the legendary cats. Many fans argue over whether they are indeed cats or dogs, or based on mythological creatures. Funnily enough, the direct German translation of the trio is Legendar Raubkatzen. I can barely pronounce Pokemon names in English, and you expect me to pronounce it in German, so too bad. So I missed. This translates to Legendary Wildcats. So let's take a look at some cool cat facts. Hashtag I don't actually think they're cats. Raikou. Raikou broke a Pokemon rule and that its Dex entry picture was the first stylized picture. Beforehand, the picture of any Pokemon in the Dex would show up as Ken Sugimori's official artwork. So far, there has not been any other cases of this unofficial rule being broken. Entei. A shiny Entei can be seen in the 13th Pokemon movie. For that matter, so did the other 2 from that trio. Suicune. Pokemon Crystal's original working game title was Pokemon X. Ooh, how mysterious.
Here is an unused pre-beta monster.
Larvitar. Ever hear that saying of letting your child eat dirt on the playground to build its immunity? No? Well, you probably came from a good home. All kidding aside, if you want a healthy Larvitar, make sure it eats dirt. Multiple Pokedex entry states that it needs to eat heaps of dirt the size of mountains before evolving. Either that or exactly 29 rare candies from birth. Pupitar. Pupitar is the
evolutionary result of a Caterpie on steroids.
Pretty sure that's not how it works. According to its Emerald Pokedex,
Pupitar creates a gas inside its body that it compresses and forcefully ejects to propel itself like a jet. The body is very durable.
Propels itself like a jet, hey? I would opt not to take Pupitar Airline because, 1, if it's using a jet-like propulsion, it's probably the slowest jet in the world with a base stat of 51. And 2, the name kinda grosses me out. Tyranitar. Tyranitar has the most type weaknesses of any fully evolved pseudo-legendary Pokemon with 7. Also, check out its artwork from beta times. Lugia. In Pokemon Silver, Lugia is the guardian of the seas, and in Gold, Ho-Oh is the guardian of the skies. But who's guarding the land? No, you're not even invented yet. Get out of here. Lugia's Generation 4, 5, and 6 Pokedex entry mentions that it is able to cause a 40-day storm, which may be a biblical reference to Noah's Ark. Ho-Oh. Its hidden ability, Regenerator, is symbolic of the idea of Ho-Oh being a phoenix rising from the ashes. As to why Slowpoke can also have this ability is maybe in hopes of it regaining connections to the brain cells it's lost? Fortunately, or unfortunately for it, its regeneration ability allows its tail to grow back after being cut off. Celebi. Masamitsu Hidaka, in a 2008 interview, revealed that the GS Ball was initially meant to contain a Celebi that would be used in a story arc throughout the Johto series. This idea was shelved because Celebi became the star of Celebi, Voice of the Forest. Cold Silver Ball? More like greatly stupid plot fail ball. Hope you enjoyed these facts. Subscribe for more and be sure to check out my 151 plus facts from Generation 1. This has been Professor Bulba, signing out.